Do you know what life in the Union Army would have been like for Irish immigrants?
Pretty terrible. They're used as shields, basically.
Really?
They're sent first to soften them up, take some rounds for the real people. They were treated poorer than black people at the time in New York City.
Were they ever put in like mixed race units, or were they usually kept
no,
to themselves?
Mostly just Irish.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people were Irish, but the Irish Brigade was purely Irish.
Yeah. And they're just used as cannon fodder? Wow.
Along those lines.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah, a good one.
Right off the boat into service.
Yeah.
So they were rioting because they felt like they were being, unjustly forced into service.
Yeah.
So there was quite a few and during that time there was a potato famine going on in Ireland. So Ireland was a sinking island basically. People were starving to death out there. So their only choice was to come out here to America, and unfortunately at the time America was torn apart with a war with itself. So during the Civil War it was tough to be Irish. And there was actually some Irish that fought on the Confederates, mostly on the north. Mostly on the north. But, again, conditions probably for them weren't the greatest. They were considered to be, they spoke funny. Anybody that doesn't look like or sound like one of us is obviously not as intelligent, and there was as such, which is not really the truth, but that's the impression that there was.
250,000.
250,000. So there was my narrator.
Yeah.
So there was quite a bit going on for the Irish. They kind of felt like if they came and fought in the army for the Union cause, they actually earned their citizenship that way. And there was two sides of that coin too. But at the same time, yeah, there were basically New York was being their ships were coming in on a daily basis. I mean, tens of thousands of people were coming in a month.
Wow.
And they were basically getting forced into service. So they get recruited, lined up, put into a basic training, and sent off to war.
Well, how would they get coerced?
How would they get coerced?
Yeah.
Yeah. How would they get coerced?
They'd get off the boat, and there'd be a line. They'd get in the line.
For Ellis Island?
They'd sign up, and they'd get back on another boat and get shipped to a boot camp.
Oh, wow.
Coerced? Yeah, against their will in some cases.
That's why they had that draft rights.
That's what that was about. Yeah.
The draft rights? Oh.
Yeah, if you had money, you could actually buy your way out. Or if you could supply someone to do your enlistment for you.
Right.
They actually had such a thing. So if you didn't have any money, and you didn't have any friends that would do it for you, yeah, you were going in. Yeah. So the drafts were not well liked back then at all.
Yeah.
They protested it because they didn't consider themselves, hey, well, we're not U.S. citizens yet. We're not here for your war.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you're here now.
It sounds like there's a lot of prejudice within the Union Army.
There was.
itself.
So yeah, there was Irish and Scottish immigrants all over the army. Actually, a pretty large percentage.
Germans are the biggest.
A lot of Germans, yeah, as well. It was the new world. People were coming here for it, and they had to pay the price.
Have you ever heard of any Native Americans fighting for the North?
Yes, I have heard of there. Where was that, Keg?
That was in the the Trans-Mississippi Theater, more out west. They had Confederate American Indians fighting for the North and South, because remember they had their intertribal problems with each other too.
Right.
So that was they had their issues that way. In fact, I think the very last battle was at Palmetto Ranch. possibly in Texas, and it was a lot of Native American
No,
Confederates.
that's interesting. Yeah.
And it was a Confederate victory. It was the last skirmish of the war, actually.
Oh wow.
It was a lot of Native Americans in the Confederate Army. Yeah, strange kind of a situation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
General Grant's adjutant was a Seneca Indian.
Huh?
So they were used as adjutants, scouts.
Yeah, that's interesting. If you find some pictures of General Grant at the end of the war with his staff, officer with him.
He's Seneca.
But he's very distinctive. I would look online for that picture. That's
Yeah.
interesting. He was an officer on General Grant's staff for a whole time. He was an officer. Grant, who became the president.
I'm a screenwriter and I'm working with a group of filmmakers who want to make a Western about a Native American who joins the Civil War.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they existed. They existed. I mean, that's information's all out there on the web. You can just write Native American Confederates, something like that, and then you'll start to see the pattern. You can work off that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to see because the expansion into the West started before the Civil War, and there was Indian wars started before, and then continued after the Civil War. So for the Native Americans, the Civil War was a break.
Right.
Yeah, it was a break from their forced situation. But
Right.
yeah, that would be interesting to find the American Indians fighting in the Civil War.
Yeah.
Not many,
Yeah.
but probably more than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were hoping it could be a Plains Indian, but it sounds like it was mostly people already in the South fighting for the South. But
Yeah, and there was something down in Florida. It was Seminole Indians. They were trying to recruit them. I think the Seminoles weren't they loyal to the Union because they were having problems with the local government? I'm kind of iffy on that one. Yeah, I have a feeling that the Seminoles were kind of like fought as guerrillas down in Florida because they didn't really get along with the local government that was imposing it. But, what were their loyalties to the Union? I don't know. It might have been just an opportunity. I think it was more opportunity than it was actually a loyalty thing.
right.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to find. That's a pretty small, area of the, and in the western tier, like it was in Arizona, the Confederates were trying to, New Mexico territory around there.
Glorieta.
They were trying to expand out toward the gold fields.
Right.
Yeah, I know they were raiding the Navajo. They were raiding the Navajo for supplies as they were pushing further west. The Confederates were.
Probably. I don't know about that, but I'm sure because the situation was really, I've driven across the country about 2 years ago. We went through some of that. There used to be nothing out there.
Yeah.
So you
Pretty
can imagine
barren.
like 1860s, 7-Elevens or a gas station will eventually find sooner or later. No, you were, they took it wherever they could find it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
They would be serving. I can't give you exact, but I know they served on the East Coast. Most of the West Coast Indians were for the Confederate.
Really?
Yeah. And it was because most of the tribes west of the Mississippi were disenfranchised, moved, everything else like that in California. The California Column, which was a union group, did nothing more than try and suppress Indian uprisings that were happening because of an agreement between those Indian tribes and the Confederacy that they'd be allowed to continue as they had before, right? If they helped liberate the South from the North. As much as I've heard, the only tribes that were actually aligned with the Union would have been mostly in the Northeast. The ones that had been that had not been disenfranchised had already been acclimated after 100 years of occupation up in that area. But if you go into the South, you get into the The tribes of the South supported the South. The tribes of the West supported the South.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in California, the only reason why California was a Union state is because it was already manned by Union troops. Because Southern California was very, very pro-South, because the majority of the people were Southerners in the South, and they were also disenfranchised Hispanics or Mexicans,
Right.
because they had lost
Right,
11 years
California.
before. They'd lost all their Spanish land grants and stuff for 11 years before. So once again, most of the Indians in the West and in the South supported the South. Most of the tribes in the Northeast supported the Northeast, supported the North.
Okay.
I can't help you any more than that.
Thank you.
Okay? You have a good one.
That's definitely helpful.